Up gets nothing effect. Has that one taken away by Troy Hellman. It seems like this could be.
Hello and welcome to the Overwatch League Recap, a talk show focusing on the Overwatch League. I, as always, am Blazin' Bob, and today I'm joined by two special guests, the first of which, Mel. Welcome back once again.
Thank you. At least I'm special this time. Last time you made it very clear that I was not the special guest, so
Well,
thank you.
some weeks you're in better graces than others with me. And welcoming back to the show, who had a short cameo, but we wanted him on for a full show, the famous Adam from Akshon Esports. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Hey, thanks, man. That's me. I'm Adam from Akshon Esports. And also, according to your screen, I'm a two-dimensional being, so that's
Yes.
pretty fun and new.
He's
Yes.
not real, guys. Don't worry.
Not at all. I'm a simulation.
Yeah, he also doesn't appear in most of his videos either. He's the ominous voice talking from the background.
What's funny is none of that was by design either. Like, it just happened to be this kind of enigmatic thing that started, and yet everybody knows my name. I don't know, man. It's weird.
Well, I mean, I think everybody knows, at least all the media know you so well because every press conference you're in there asking questions and you're always doing it correctly. They always tell us, say your name, say who you're with, and then do your question. But so many media outlets forget to do that. So it's
And it just rolls off the tongue really nicely.
does.
The
It does.
alliteration really helps.
Action Esports, right? If we were A Sports, it'd be perfect.
Oh my god.
Oh, shoot.
Adam from Akshon Esports. I guess that's how they say it in Canada, though, right?
Yeah, see?
What you
should
talking
move.
about? All right, and as always, we like to start the show with thanking our recap producers, Shazir and Thrill. Thank you guys so much for helping make this possible. Tonight, we are going to talk news. We're going to recap week 2 and talk a little bit about possible playoff berths. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So first off, Boston Uprising announces Spring Collegiate Cup. Now, what this is they're holding basically a competition for college teams, and winners will get to go to a paid trip to go to the Blizzard Arena to check out, one or maybe two of Boston's games. What'd you think of this, Mel?
I just think it's really cool. I love the fact that they're getting college sports involved. I think that's kind of the future of the path to pro, or at least I see it as an alternative route than the path to pro right now. And I just think it's fun, and take it up if you're on a college team.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. This next one. So after the 0-7 start, it looks like Valiant wasted no time, and they released Coach Moon today. Adam, what do you think of this?
Brutal, man. Just brutal. I feel for Coach Moon. Honestly, LA Valiant for me has always been a team that looked like they were relying on mechanical skill instead of a game plan. They looked like that in season 1, but the meta was such that you could get away with that. when these pushes devolved into kind of all out brawls, like you could rely on those mechanics. With a meta like goats that's so focused on coordination between the team and communication, all of those flaws are really brought to the forefront and are exploited a lot more by their opponents. So I don't actually know what the solution is here. I don't think they know what the solution is. I mean, after Cuddles and now Moon, like, they clearly don't know what the right move is at this moment. But I do have faith in them. Like, their team is made up of really good people. They've got good staff. They've got great players. I think they'll figure it out eventually. But I don't know that restarting once again is the right call.
I think you're muted.
And I just feel bad for the fans and just they have such a good fan base. I mean, one of our very own Brick Victory, our post-match correspondent, like he's a huge fan, and it's been really brutal just to see them feel like I felt last year with the Dallas Fuel, or probably worse though. But I mean, it was pretty bad with the Dallas Fuel. But what do you think, Mel?
I don't know. I guess to me, Moon was gone when they posted the video of him saying the Custo is just too smart to play in the meta. Like, I just feel like you say that out loud and you had to re-listen to that and be like, why'd you publish that? Right? Like, come on. And I just don't know. I don't know or understand how you let something like that go live, first of all. Like, they edited that video. Like, come on. But two, I just think, like Adam was saying, their flaws are glaring. And I think for their fans, they needed a scapegoat, right? And Moon's that scapegoat. And you see it all the time in traditional sports. You know, if a team is doing really bad in the first half of the season, they'll fire their coach because that's some change for them that the fans can get behind, right? Whether you like Moon or not, whether you think Moon did a good job or not, or could have done a good job in a different meta, different players, whatever it might be, I think they had to make this move. They went 0-7. I mean, there's no coming back, you know, like they had to do something. They couldn't just do the hope and pray method anymore.
Yeah, and it is funny. Like Adam reminded me about Cuddles. I had kind of forgotten about that early season one change, and it did kind of spark him, but I don't know.
It sparked him a couple, like it took at least a stage though for them to kind of get back into it, I think, if
Yeah,
I'm remembering correctly.
I think most of the people were thinking it was more Custa and Space coming onto the roster that really changed what they were doing. But
Listen, if your whole team isn't smart enough for Custa, maybe you should reevaluate the rest of your team because that's a problem.
yeah,
To your first point, Mel, though, like, as far as why would they release this kind of content? I mean, the team does kind of have a history of oversharing. I mean, this is the team that did the in and out
Fair enough.
video.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Touche.
And it's almost kind of on brand for them because, like, on the positive side of that, some of their social media content has been really endearing and really kind of sweet. Watching Space put makeup on Kareev is like amazing. Their little office
Agreed.
roster intro is hilarious. But yeah, I guess you take the bad with the good in that sense.
Fair
Yep.
enough.
Yep. Um, so just a quick reminder for everyone, next week there is only 2 days worth of games. There are 4 games on Saturday and 4 games on Sunday. So this is kind of interesting how they're doing this. I kind of like it because that means Thursday and Friday I'm going to get to play some Overwatch. So
Right?
yeah, gives the players kind of some time off. Gives Adam some time off from spending every waking moment at the Blizzard Arena.
Oh, poor me.
Yeah,
mean,
right.
But
Tough life.
do you welcome this change, Adam? Like, is it just going to make it like I feel like it's going to make for all of us just the entire season better?
Yes and no. The schedules got me kind of messed up. Not gonna lie, it's harder for me to keep track of what the standings are looking like. It's really awkward to have Valiant play their game 7 when who was it right after them? Hunters, I can't remember. No, where was their other match? Justice still hadn't played their game 5.
Yeah.
Right.
And they had finished their game 7, and that's just awkward. Like I want to be able to kind of keep track in real time. It makes my job harder, trying to get the lay of the land. And this also has to do with them not playing each other as much. I mean, they were saying that New York and San Francisco are only going to face each other once outside of playoffs. Like that's rough, man. I mean, metas change, the power levels of the teams change, and for the sake of the integrity of the competition, like I don't know that it's a good move, but I also think that it's kind of an awkward number of teams and awkward scheduling. So I get it, and I don't really fault anybody for it, but it leaves kind of a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it's definitely been a little bit weird for us too, because I mean, Paris, like they still have 2 more games to play, and they're going to play them all Saturday and Sunday, and that kind of sucks for them, especially at a point in which they're kind of struggling. So that is a little
Yeah,
bit
but
weird.
it also gives them somewhat of an advantage, right? They know exactly what they need to do to get into the playoffs for the most part, right? Whereas like Shock's completely done, and so
Yeah, shocked us
they're
just to
just
watch
kind of
from the outside
they just
looking
have to
in.
watch and hope that teams don't go crazy this next week. So I don't know. I think the whole like playing 2 weeks some weeks, playing or 2 games some weeks and 1 game other weeks, I agree with Adam that it's very confusing to follow the standings. And I wish they would try to balance it out at least like every other week, right? Like we have like a balanced situation or something. I don't know that I like the fact that all the bye weeks are week 5. Like why
Yeah,
couldn't
I
they have
don't.
spread those out?
That thought that was weird too, but all I could guess was that it's in because like I'm guessing like the 2-day week next stage is going to be in Dallas at the
Right.
home game, and then the 2-day day is going to be the next stage after that in Atlanta. So that's my guess on why they're doing it like that. It made no sense to me like early on until I put that part together. But let's jump into the games. So
Actually, before we do that, one other small note on the scheduling. I do think that it's interesting that they've created this whole geo-local system, trying to kind of elicit that traditional sports structure and create that kind of engagement with the fans. And then they crafted a schedule that is really, really difficult for that would be really difficult if applied to any kind of traditional sports league. Like
Right.
you don't have these teams playing on the same days. You don't have them always even playing, during the week, and it's all over the place. And you got to be really, really like cognizant of what the scheduling looks like from week to week, and you can't actually get into a rhythm and a routine of it, which is how traditional sports thrive. When
Right.
you get
yeah,
together with your friends for a watch day, you get together on that Sunday or on for Monday Night Football or something like that, right?
Right.
So not being able to have that consistency, I think, will ultimately hurt like long-term, devoted fans from engaging, keep them from engaging as actively as they might like with their team.
Right.
yeah,
And like to be honest, we watch all the games, right? But most people probably don't. And so if I was just watching Houston games, it'd be hard to remember which day they were going to play on, right? And then I also have to remember what time they're going to play, and the time can vary based on the games before that game too, right? Like I could go to a watch party that's supposed to start at 5 and the game doesn't actually start till 6.
true. And I guess I have enough trouble. The Chiefs were so bad for so long; they never had a primetime game, and then this last year, I was like, oh shoot, they play on Thursday. Oh shoot, they play this time. Oh shoot, they changed it so they could be the primetime game. I mean, so it was definitely harder. That's a very good point.
I do think that's something we will get though when it is more regionalized, right? When people are playing in their home cities, I think you will get that more consistent schedule. I think just having all of the teams playing at the Blizzard Arena, you can't really have them playing more than one match at a time, you know?
Agreed.
So hopefully It's in the
Oh,
works.
Bob's muted again.
Oh yeah, sorry. It'll be interesting how they do that with like casters and talent, because I don't know, are each of the teams going to have their own caster talent and they're going to do, their home games? That's going to be very interesting to me and probably interesting to a lot of casters.
I mean, I'm guessing just like kind of like football, right? You have like the primetime games that are hosted by certain people, and then you have the other games that are hosted by, I don't know, local people, are they?
Yeah. Yeah, I
I,
mean,
I, I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, you go right ahead.
I think it would have to be Blizzard centralized, just I mean, if for no other reason, then Blizzard is then responsible for the statements these people make if
Right.
they slip up and do some not so PG stuff on stream. Like, that's on Blizzard. That's not on the teams. So I don't think it could ever really be localized to that degree. They would all have to be thoroughly screened and tested by Blizzard, I think, before they ever got on broadcast.
For sure.
Yeah, because sometimes for the Chiefs games, I'll tune into the actual local radio to hear the local guy because he goes touchdown Kansas City, and it's just he's very excited about everything Chiefs instead of the guys on the national scene who are trying to be like, trying to be non impartial, I guess is what I'm
And you
looking
might
for.
see some of that too. You know what I mean? Like you could see like a radio station or a, YouTube person like Sideshow who's
So, yeah, I
casting the
was just
games,
thinking
right?
that. Yep.
Like you could have that they don't have to be tied to the Blizzard name because they're independent, right?
Yep.
But I think for the actual official broadcast, I think you're right, Adam, that it'd have to be Blizzard people.
All right. Well, let's jump into some games. So first off, I'm just going to say there are three teams that have already staked their claim on the Stage 1 playoffs. That is NYXL, the Titans, and the Defiant. Teams that have been eliminated are the Gladiators, the Spark, the Dragons, the Hunters, the Mayhem, the Justice, and the Valiant. Everyone else in between has a shot. Fusion, Fuel, Rain, Shock, Charge, Uprising, Dynasty, Outlaws, Spitfire, Eternal. It's going to be an exciting weekend coming up. But let's start off talking about the big dogs. Let's start out talking about NYXL, who won 4-0 this week against the Shock, putting them at 7-0 with a plus 16 map differential.
They're really struggling.
Yeah, they're struggling hard,
It's
right?
rough.
I don't know about them.
Yeah, they're just getting ready to throw.
Well,
Looking a little shaky out there.
but I mean, 4-0 on the Shock, like we thought the Shock could do a little bit better. And it did look like a pretty good game on a few of the maps, but I mean, still 4-0.
It was definitely a closer game than the score shows, but then again, I mean, Shock's got their problems, and New York knows how to exploit problems from teams. And even though Shock can come back and kind of make it a closer game, New York adjusts so well mid-match that they can figure out how to win that match. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the best things about New York is that they don't get thrown off like we saw some other teams this week,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we asked Jane what team he thought was meta proof, and he was like, "Duh, New York." I mean, but I did think it was
empirically that's false. I mean, we saw last.
well, Monty
Although they
claims that they
figured it
were,
out.
sandbagging.
Yeah. Well, they sandbagged themselves all the way out of the finals. So
Circumstantial.
good job.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting that Sinatra was pretty much every map doing more damage than Nene, but dying a lot more and getting less limbs than Nene. So I don't know where the fault really lies with Shock. And like it's just kind of Shock has me confused across the board.
I think it's ult management with Shock. I think New York is very poised and knows exactly what to do and when. And the Shock, I think, gets flustered and starts misusing their ults and not using them at the correct time, using Transcendence before Grav comes out and then not having it for Grav, right? Like, I just feel like New York is much better at staying calm and managing their abilities than the Shock is, especially from behind.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let rip with some analysis not done by me, but discussed with a colleague of mine. Chris over at Blink Recall was talking to me about New York and kind of what separates them from the rest of the pack, and I think that is really brought to light in this San Francisco game, in that they play way more reserved and defensively than almost any other team. He pointed out that they're a team that's unafraid to grab for a single player because they know if they get that kill, they are skilled enough to crack that fight open. And they
Right.
don't need they don't need those big diva bomb plays to win those fights and to push that payload. Whereas San Francisco, I feel like, is playing the game as it's understood by everybody else. They
Right.
play aggressively. They hit hard. They hit fast. They always have. I mean, game one, season one. They came out of the gate on Dorado like crazy. But for against a team like New York that is going Bruce Lee on them and is just moving like water and and waiting for them to make the mistake. They're not afraid to back off. They're not afraid to give up a point if it means that they can back off, maintain their ults, and wait for that mistake to come through, and then they punish hard. And
Yeah.
nobody else is really replicating that.
Yeah, that's crazy because they actually the stats show that because in the top 10 of least deaths, players with the least deaths per 10 minutes, you've got 4 of the NYXL, and in the top 5, you have 3 with Nene. Oh shoot, that's Arc though. That's not really a good indicator. Well, either way, you have Nene and Animo in the top 5 of least deaths. So that definitely proves your point there.
Yeah,
Uh,
they know how to. I think one of the biggest things you said, Adam, was they know how to punish other teams' mistakes, and they really do. And they just wait for you to make one because you're going to, and they can wait you out. That's why I think the games are closer, maybe, than they look on the scoreboard. You see Shock like getting close, and you're like, oh, maybe they're going to take a map, but New York's, got it in the bag the whole time. They're just waiting for their opportunity.
yeah. Well, let's talk about the Titans, who might just turn out to be just as good record-wise. They are currently 6-0. They won 4-0 against Eternal and 3-1 against the Hunters this week. Next week they have the
3-2.
Charge.
3-2. They went to map 5 with the
3-2.
Hunters.
Yeah, they did. That was we'll get to talk about that in a second. They're sitting at a plus 14 map differential, and they're looking pretty good. But yeah, let's talk about that Hunters game. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Mo.
Oh my God. It was like, first of all, the Hunters are the best team to watch ever.
100%.
Hands down. Hands down. And it's so much fun. And then watching them like totally throw the Titans for like a loop with like the Titans looked like they were running around like, I don't know what to do. There's just so many DPS players. Maybe we should go Hanzo. Maybe we should try Wrecking Ball. Maybe we should do this. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, they did definitely force the Titans a little bit off of their game. The Titans were choosing a bunch of DPS and some stuff too. Like, Adam, were you there for this game?
I was not, but I did see it, and it was beautiful. It was a thing of absolute beauty. Jinmu on Pharah is possibly my like new favorite thing.
my
And
God.
Among's Wrecking Ball. Oh wait, no, sorry, this is Titans, not. Oh yeah, sorry, Hunters. Yeah. So Among's Wrecking Ball is so much fun, and he just the disruption that he causes is awesome. But I actually did a little bit of research on this because of specifically this. I enjoy watching Hunters so much. I went back through their games and I looked, and kind of my suspicion was correct. They excel on catching people by surprise, and that is why they are like disproportionately more successful on 2CP than any other map type.
Yep.
2CP and then like hybrid, because they
Right.
can take points. Like these guys know how to just bust out the screwball attack and take a point. The problem is like the sustainability of these strats is where they tend to fall apart, which is ultimately why they lose like entire matches, even though they perform well.
Which I think if the Titans would have stuck to their guns and just stayed goats, I think they would have come much better in this series. But they kept switching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bananas thing about Titans though is I think that they are the next NYXL in the making, but I do stress in the making because you'll see the flaws in Titans game plan when they do get flustered and caught off guard. That wouldn't happen to Nixel. Like Nixel would be ready for the Chengdu strats.
Well,
Even
and it's
if
not
they
like
lose to
Chengdu's
it.
hidden them.
No.
Like come on, they play crazy strats, but they're fairly similar.
The thing about Titans is I think they understand this meta as well as you can. But I think Nixel ultimately understands the game more. And I think that Titans may potentially struggle once the meta does shift, if it does dramatically shift away from GOATs. But I don't want that to happen. Akshon is based in Vancouver, or in Toronto. No, in Vancouver. Sorry, I lied. Vancouver. And so the Titans are technically our home team. So I need to cheer for these guys. But I do think that we may see them fall off a bit once the meta shifts.
Well, yeah, they might, and the hunters might end up, moving up because they'll have a lot more weird stuff that they can throw at them. But
I mean, the Hunters went toe to toe with them playing goats. We haven't seen the Hunters play much goats up until this game, and they mirrored them, and it was close. And I think that says a lot about the Hunters.
yeah,
I think they're figuring it out.
What I love about them is every time I look at one of their like wackadoo comps, I feel like I'm looking at a gold ladder game.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Their comps just feel like the stuff that I play at home, and there's something really kind of endearing about that. I really kind of it's homegrown Overwatch. It doesn't feel as alien as some of these like higher level strats do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love it.
well, they if they get +2, they'll be straight up tied with New York Excelsior, so that'll be interesting. But another team that is that is in the playoffs is the Toronto Defiant, and they won 3-1 against the Hunters and won 3-0 against the Spark, and they are done for the stage at 5-2 with a +5 map differential.
Yeah, I mean, the Defiance just looked pretty solid overall. I feel like they did better against the Hunters than the Titans. I'm just going to throw that out there. And I think their game against the Spark was pretty good. Granted, Spark's, out of playoff contention as well. So I don't know. I like the Titans. I think that, or the Defiant, I think that they are a good team that has a lot of room to grow. And, hopefully we see some more exciting comps from them. Maybe they learn from the Hunters.
Maybe.
Nah.
I just think that the Defiance is super strong squad. Envy is glad that he got moved to them and is no longer on the Valiant. And Note has looked really good. I was a little upset that they benched Aid, but Note's looked great. Neko, sorry, Neko.
I was like, no. Yeah, Neko's looked great. But, Roki, on the other hand, not super hot, but all right. I'd like to see Aid come in on his main role. I think Aid did really well for Neko on an off role, so I'd like to see him come in. But I think Ivy's the star of their team.
What are your thoughts, Adam, on the Toronto Defiant?
Going into the season, I didn't know what to think. And I'm gonna be honest, they have probably been the most pleasant surprise this season. The amount of potential this team has is absolutely unimaginable. I mean, I just had an interview with Envy 2 days ago on Saturday, right? Saturday? That was their game?
Yeah.
Yeah, Saturday. So I just talked to him, and man, that kid is jazzed to be on the Defiant. He's jazzed to be a leader. He's jazzed to be helping these younger guys out from O2, I want to say. I may be getting that wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But he's got these really highly skilled players that he and Neko can kind of help develop into an Overwatch League, Overwatch League players. They can use their experience to really help them out, and it's like it's exactly the best case scenario. You've got a lot of raw talent, and since they're not from one of like the most prestigious teams, you've got less ego, and they're just so moldable at this time, and the proof is in the pudding. Like they're really coming out strong for a debut performance, and I love it. I love watching Envy play. I love Ivy, as you said, it's great. And then Neko's been doing well too.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and talk about Fusion next. Fusion, they had a not so convincing 3-2 win against the Valiant, and next week they play Paris. They do hold their destiny in their hands. If they win, they are definitely in. So I think they're gonna win against Paris. I mean, what do you guys think?
I don't know. I feel like Fusion has two rosters, kind of like the Dallas Fuel, right? Like sometimes they look really good, sometimes they look really bad. The fact that they went 3-2 against Valiant, I know Valiant has had some closer matches, but still, they also won 3-1 against Washington, which I don't think says much. They lost against Fuel and Mayhem. I don't know. I feel like Fusion is looking good on a 2-game winning streak, but it was against two teams that are at the bottom of the barrel. So Paris, I think, will turn it around after their horrible showing last week.
You think?
But I think Paris has to. If Paris doesn't,
They've
then they're
got
out of it,
some major problems on Zarya, whether it's Soon or Shadowburn. And Shadowburn a little worse, but they're just not putting out the same damage that the other Zarya players across the league are. What do you think,
Yeah.
Adam?
I think Paris is another one of those teams that just has stupid amounts of potential, and I think they're going to find their groove. I don't know if it's going to be in this stage or against Philadelphia. I want to cut Philadelphia some slack on their losses, considering they had Elk subbed in for Boombox playing off his role. They are still technically undefeated with their full regular roster.
Yep. They've only lost with Boom out.
Now, here is another thing. I mean, they only have one off tank. They only have one off support. If Poco or Boombox fall ill again, like that is what it is.
Getting them some vitamin C, guys.
Some emergency.
Just staying
Just
away
in
from it.
case.
But I don't know. I want to see Fraggy smash. I think where this team excels is in their versatility in game, and I think that they are a volatile enough team that to quote Neptuno, they could beat any team and they could lose to any team, and so it's really hard to predict for them because it kind of depends on what Fusion shows up that day.
But if they free Fraggy, I will totally be rooting for them.
Hashtag free Fraggy. I've been asking for that since, God, forever now. They're just not going to do it. They have him in a cage. I mean, but once they do finally free him, that guy is going to be nuts.
I will say that I in the preseason, I spent some time at the Fusion House, and I spoke with the coaches, and they were actually very excited about the work they were doing with Fraggy in scrims. They obviously didn't give me too much detail, but basically they were saying he's making the kind of progress that they wanted to see in him. So I definitely think we're going to see him. It's just a matter of when.
Yes. But when we see him, are they going to change him so much that it won't be the Fraggy that we knew? I don't know.
His hair is going to be shock white by then. He's going through so much stress.
It's like, I just can't charge. I just don't know what to do.
It's like, I rebounded to something and I don't know what it is. But yeah, I mean, speaking of another somewhat confusing team, let's talk about the Fuel, who is at 4-2 also with a +1 map differential. They won 4-0 against the Dragons after winning in a game 5 the week prior. They play Boston, which is going to be a pretty tough game next week. But they are on a 3-game winning streak, and they did finally break their habit of losing on the weekdays.
I mean,
So,
it was Friday, so maybe it's just Thursdays. I don't know. I guess my biggest thing, I think it's very interesting that Fuel played Shanghai twice in a row. I think that's interesting and kind of weird as well. I don't think we've seen that from any of the other teams, but I could be wrong.
I
I think
wonder if we're going to see it, though, in the future schedule. I haven't looked ahead.
I don't know. I mean, it was interesting. They were really close the first game, and then it just kind of showed the different preparation that, you know, Dallas was able to kind of look at some of that stuff and prepare better. But also, Shanghai played 2 games the next week, and Dallas only played one. So there's a lot of factors that go into that too, I think. With the Fuel and the Uprising, basically the winner of that game is probably going to go to the playoffs. I think Fuel can still make it if they lose, but they need a lot of other things to fall in line with that, you know.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the Fuel, Adam?
Man, it's hard to have an opinion for me. I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, they faced Shanghai twice, as you said, and while the Shanghai Dragons are looking a lot better, they're certainly not what I would think of as a top half team. They also beat Philadelphia Fusion when they were basically playing 6-on-5. You know,
Yep.
so it's a hard thing to gauge. I don't actually know if we're seeing a real improvement in Dallas yet. I have every confidence that they can achieve great things, but I don't know if the proof is there yet. I kind of abstain from voting on that one until there's more evidence.
Well, it seems like the last 3 weeks they have stuck with the same roster. They're not swapping out AKM for Effect, and I think that's been helping them a lot. I think it's really nice for them that they have a diva player that excels so much at Sombra. I mean, RCK has been huge for them, and just their ability to switch on the fly during maps. Unko's looked great. He's been great for my Overwatch League fantasy team. He's been killing it for me. And then
It's really all that
AKM
matters.
is just really, I mean, he's just really kind of coming into his own and seems comfortable, seems like a good leader on the team. And so I am a huge fan of the Fuel. So, take my opinion or leave it. I am definitely biased, but I mean, I had the Fuel power rankings sitting at 6 when the season started, and they're sitting currently at 5 right now. So I feel pretty good about that. But this next one just really threw me through a loop this week. The Atlanta Reign are 3-2 now, a +5 map differential, but they lost 0-4 to the Gladiators. And next week they have the Hunters and Houston. But boy, let's talk about this 0-4 loss to the Gladiators, because I was not expecting that at all.
I mean, the Gladiators came out a completely different team this week. They looked coordinated. They looked like they knew what the heck was going on. And so I can't put this all on Rain bad play, although I do think that Rain did not expect the Gladiators to put up such a good fight, and they were not prepared. And so I would like the Rain to kind of shape it up for their Saturday game and then really just lose it on Sunday. So that's my
Yeah,
prediction.
you're hoping they lose to Houston, which
Yeah, and
I
04
don't
would be
know.
great. Just saying.
Oh man, Adam, did this shock you, or was this something you kind of thought might happen?
I think there's a couple factors here. It did catch me by surprise, but what I will say is that I think there's two major factors here. One, Gladiator spent the first half of the stage playing without Bishu, which they weren't expecting to do. I think there was an adjustment period there, and that they were kind of coming out stronger after kind of learning what this new formation, like be kind of locked into this roster, kind of learning how to play around that. Second, I think that Atlanta is, we'll call it volatile, right? DeFran is known for being volatile. That's his brand, So I kind of put them in the same category that I put Philadelphia, in that I think that they could beat any team and I think they could lose to any team, because it just really comes down to whether their kind of Mimi strats will work against a team that's that coordinated, and if they can kind of roll with the punches if and when it doesn't work. I'm surprised it was Gladiators.
Yeah.
that took that kind of knocked them off their perch a little bit. But I'm happy to see it, man. LA's got some really fantastic players, and I honestly believe that their skill level is not reflected currently in their score.
Yeah. Definitely.
Take that for what it's worth.
And it wouldn't have really shocked me if the Gladiators won, but in a closer game. I mean, the 4-0, I mean, like Mel says, she didn't think Atlanta played very poorly, but God, I thought they played awful. I mean, they just looked confused. They looked shocked. I mean, Roar on the Gladiators looked like a completely different Ryan from the Ryan that he's been for the last few weeks, and it was just really bizarre. And then they subbed out DeFran in the map 3, and I just wondered if that was like them checking his mental state, and if he was like getting upset or if he was getting quiet in comms, because I mean, I'm pretty sure he's the guy that counts ultimates, so if he's off on that has the whole team off.
Yeah,
But
I don't think it's the fact that Atlanta was playing really well. I think Atlanta was just caught off guard, and they weren't playing well because of that. And I don't think they were prepared. But I don't think you can take anything away from the Gladiators on this. I think the Gladiators came in and played a whole different game than Atlanta had prepared for. And bummer for the Gladiators, a little too late there for them. But
yeah, and we didn't see any Surefour at all during that game. I mean, it was
we
all
haven't
Decay.
since Decay came
Yeah.
in.
Well, I think they subbed him in a little bit that first week. I do remember Surefour in for that first week, but Decay seems to look like he's getting more comfortable. He's definitely he had some weird gravitons, but as far as stats wise, he looks like a pretty good Zarya. But
I think there's a language issue that gets kind of fixed by bringing Decay in, as far as the comms go. When you don't have Bishu in there, Surefour doesn't have anybody to talk to outside of his support line. So,
Poor Surefour.
so I think that matters, right? Like, yes, Big Goose and Shaz need to be able to talk to each other and coordinate their movements, their rotations, and their heal prioritization. But as far as the rest of the team goes, I think it's more important to have your tanks coordinated with at least one of your DPSs than it is to have them kind of operating, at least in the GOATS meta, operating kind of autonomously,
yeah.
like that.
Although
For sure.
Big Goose oftentimes on certain maps operates by himself. Some big
I love Big
boots.
Goose.
Yeah, Big Goose is pretty cool.
Dude, he's so loose right now.
So we talked a little bit about the Shock, but I'll just go over. They're 4-3 with a +5 map differential. They need some people. I mean, they need a little bit to get in. They still have a good shot. They have a pretty good map differential for being 4-3. So they went 0-4 against NYXL, won 3-1 against the Eternal last week. This next week they have a bye, so they're just gonna watch on the sidelines. So one that's confusing me is the Charge. So the Charge lost to the Gladiators as well. 1-3 this week. Next week they take on the terrible Titans. They're at 3-3 with a +3 map differential. If they win, they definitely have a chance to get in. If they lose, I'm pretty sure they're for sure out.
I mean, I don't think it's for sure. Well, maybe it is actually, because Uprising plays Fuel, Dynasty plays Spitfire. I don't know. Yeah, it's not looking good for them if they lose. And they're playing the Titans, so
What do you think? You think they have a shot, Adam?
I think they have a shot, but if I'm being 100% honest with myself, I'm gonna call it 3-1 Titans.
Yeah.
Like that's how I see it rolling out. But if you let Kib play a DPS hero, I think that all changes. We'll see next stage or maybe the stage after. But man, you like it really crushes my soul the amount of DPS talent that's going to waste in this meta. Because
right.
every now and then you see these players come out and it's like this team could be so different if we were playing in a different meta.
Oh God,
like,
yeah.
I think Guangzhou would be a top third at least team, probably top quarter. Yeah, what would that be? Top 5, right? We got 20 teams, so that'd be. I see them as a top 5 team in a DPS centric meta.
Oh no, I think Hunters give them a run for their money there too.
It's hard. Without seeing it, it's a really hard one to call. But I like, man, there's so much talent in the DPS position that's not being
Especially
utilized.
on the Shock team specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're ready though.
Yeah, they're ready.
Man. There's 7 different kinds of ready.
Yeah, just in case.
Another team who is 3-3 is the Boston Uprising. They have a +2 map differential after getting their 4-0 win against Mayhem this last week. They take on the Fuel next week. They're currently sitting at 1 higher map differential. So if they beat Fuel, they're gonna jump over top of them because both teams are gonna be 4-3. Now, they had a tough 2 losses without their main tank Fusions. So he's back
I
now.
think just one.
Was it just one?
Yeah, just the Shanghai.
Okay, well either way, he's been pretty scary. What do you think is going to happen in their game against the Fuel, Mel?
Oh, it's hard to tell. I mean, I really think Fusions really makes that team great. I feel like his comms, they showed him during the match, like, hey guys, we got to win this. The difference between a 4-0 and a 3-1 is huge for our map differential. Like, he's just pumping his team up. He's just there. He's, talks a lot, as we've heard, and he says the right things. And I think he's a, cheerleader for them, as well as just a really good main tank that they really desperately needed. And I personally think Boston is going to beat Fuel.
Gosh, what do you think, Adam?
That's another tough one to call. I mean, you're right, man. Fusion's MVP for that team by a wide margin. He's transformed that team, and he that's one of the best trades I think we've ever seen in the league.
For sure.
Just picking him up. How vocal he is, how his experience with Goats Comp from the contenders and World Cup stages, like the experience that he brings, the game knowledge that he brings, and the leadership that he brings are all like essential for them. Having said, I don't know if they have it over Dallas, just because Dallas seems to be less reliant on any one person to carry them like that. I think that knowing what we know about Fusions and the fact that Reinhardt is typically the first hero to die in any given fight in Goats Comp,
Yep.
I think that it might be
So
easy
is
to shake.
Bumper.
But I just think that like when you have your shot caller and your team leader eliminated first out of every fight, it's certainly not barring their success, but I think that it opens up a vulnerability when your leader isn't actually there for the majority of
Right.
any kind of important fight. I think Dallas will get it. I'm gonna call it real close though. I'm gonna say Dallas 3-2.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
and even as a fan, I still haven't fully chose my pick'em yet because I'm just a little worried, but I'm
I
hoping
think it helps me
Dallas.
more Dallas wins, so
I'm hoping Dallas pulls it out, but Fusions is definitely an interesting character. He told us in an interview that the reason his head is so square is because he played so much Minecraft before playing Overwatch. So the guy's definitely a character and a pretty fun guy.
Kid's a treasure.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. So who we thought was going to be NYXL at the start of last season, the Dynasty, is currently at 3-3 with a +2 map differential. They 3-1 the Justice with basically their B squad in. And next week they go up against the Spitfire. Now, what I would ask you guys here, and either of you can take this up first, is were they were they just really putting in their B squad just because they thought they could take Washington regardless, or do you think they're actually thinking about making a change at some of these positions?
Oh, you can start that one, Adam.
Yeah, I think they're looking to make a change.
You think
I
so?
think there's a synergy issue in Seoul. There seem to be now. I can't reveal too much because the player cams that we see are slightly privileged, but there does seem to be some friction going on with their shot caller and some other high profile individual on their team, and and it reflects in the play. Like just to talk about what goes on in the games, there always seems to be a disconnect in communication, which it can be absolutely devastating in this meta. You got people going rogue in the middle of fights and positioning weird, and that just can't happen. So I think it does behoove Dynasty to kind of flex people in at this point in the stage. If you're just calling like stage playoffs aren't going to happen for us, we need to see what we got and work towards next stage. I think it's a solid call. I think that's the best thing you can do in this situation, and I want to see him back on top, man. Like they were so hyped going into season one. Everybody thought they were going to be the best team, and I just want to see it actually come to fruition. You know?
For
Yeah.
sure.
I thought the addition of Fisher would be a lot more impactful, but from the outside looking in, it appears that Fisher's having the same problems that he had on every team he was on prior. And
See, I don't know about that. I mean, I think Fisher's biggest issue is the goats meta. I feel like Fisher's Reinhardt is not a goats meta Reinhardt. And I think that he is not such a team player, and Goats is so reliant on team play, coordination, and synergy that he struggles to kind of mesh with everybody. And I think that's probably why we saw Marvel a little bit more. It did surprise me that they took out oh man, now I forget who they took out. Hold on.
Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle. Because I thought Michelle was playing very, very well.
Yeah, I had both Fisher and
So
Michelle on one of my fantasy teams, and that
that's a bummer.
that really hurt on that one. But I don't know. Yeah, I think Fisher is a team player as long as the team is following him and doing everything he says.
Well, that's not a team player.
Oh
I'm a
man.
team player as long as everybody agrees with me.
Well, Mel, why don't you let's talk about your Outlaws, who are sitting now at 3-3 with a -1 map differential. They won 2-1 against the Valiant in a really ugly game, and next week they take on the Rain. What do you think of your Outlaws, Mel?
Listen, don't call it an ugly game.
It was pretty ugly.
We won, so that's all that matters. And yeah, what I will say is Valiant might be 0-7, but they have come very close in a lot of their matches. So don't take that route. But I don't know. I think having Jake on the team has like helped them kind of solidify. I do think they're a little bit. It's a problem that we have our Zarya player as our Sombra player. It's really our biggest issue right now, I think, is that Dante is both the Zarya and the Sombra. So if we want to switch to Sombra, then now we don't have a Zarya, or we have Coolmat in there who can't play Zarya, or we have Spree in there who plays a decent diva, but a really good Zarya. But then you get into a problem with switching back, and I think that's our biggest problem. But
That
I
definitely
think
is a
that we're going to
problem.
win.
All right. Well, how about an unbiased opinion on the Outlaws from you, Adam?
I think Mel has got a pretty good a picture of the issues. I think that first of all, I really like seeing Boink and Spree play. I really like those guys. I really like seeing them play. But the problem is they have been treated like the C string since season 1, and then to expect them to come in and be starters, like they don't have the same level of synergy that the rest of the team has built up over the course of a year.
Listen, Boink was on the F squad in season 1, okay?
Yeah,
He
poor
came
guy.
in and I just like put my hands down and was like, nope, we lose. This sucks. But his Lucio is so much better than his Mercy.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right?
So
So we have a meta that justifies their paycheck for once, and where we need Lucio and we need Zarya, and it is great to see them take the field, but I feel like they're like, for a meta that's so dependent on synergy and unity within a team, it feels weird to have the skills kind of split up and spread so thin. And especially when you're trying to flex between, Dante bringing Sombra into the into those comps, and I like that addition, but also it doesn't. I'm gonna say this as a sweeping statement to all teams that use Sombra. Just because you can kill a team when they can't do anything back to you doesn't mean you can actually beat that team. It just means
Hey,
that you can win when
listen,
you turn their
Yes,
stuff
dude.
off.
Sombra in
all about winning a
this.
fight.
Now,
It's the
see,
great equalizer.
like, and see, the thing is, like, looking at this meta, you really feel like Sombra needs a nerf. She's just like a good Sombra is an I win button. But if the meta was dive, it wouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have everybody there for you to use your ult on. I mean, she wasn't very good in dive, and so it's interesting to me that. It's interesting to me that teams aren't playing more Sombra, but I guess the skills just aren't there, and some teams are just really lucky to have a lineup that can support the Sombra goats.
There's
I
not
do.
actually that many good Sombra player, like really high level Sombra players. Like you said, Houston was lucky enough to have Dante, who has been playing Sombra since season 1 at a very, very high level.
Right. And I just feel like the biggest issue is that Sombra is good, but she's not good on every map. And we definitely forced Sombra on Volskaya and Route 66, right? Because we had Spree in, and it was better than swapping Spree off of Zarya, putting him on Diva, and putting Dante on Zarya, right? Like, I think that's the biggest issue that you're coming into. Like, you see a team like Dallas Fuel with RCK, it's a very easy swap. When they need a Sombra, they switch their Diva to a Sombra, and it works. And then when they need to go back to Diva, they go back to Diva. It's not 7 people that are swapping roles and losing ults. So we definitely forced it. I don't think it was the best, but we won. So I'm going to let it go.
Oh man, yeah. I just love it when two teams are playing Sombra and the Sombras are like right next to each other but don't know it. It's my favorite. So let's talk about the London Spitfire. The champions from last year are currently sitting at 3-3 with a -1 map differential. They lost 2-3 to the Shanghai Dragons, and next week they go against the Dynasty. They're just like, there's gonna have to be a lot. They're gonna have to win, and a lot's got to happen for them to make it into the playoffs. But let's start with Adam. What do you think about the Spitfire and how they've fared here in stage 1?
Oh man. Poor London. Honestly, I think the biggest issue here is that they're just putting a little too much on Prophet's tiny little shoulders. He
But
is
why are his arms so tiny?
he's so small and
He's
so
so
precious,
small.
and I love him. And he's so good, but it just feels it feels like Ryu Jaehong syndrome. For Seoul from last year, where it's just a little too much pressure, it's a little too much emphasis on one player. And just as a side note, guard playing Tracer on Ilios Well, that really upset me. He's not
yeah.
my Tracer. I bought a London Spitfire Tracer skin for Profit. It's like when your dad your like stepdad tries to buy your love with a Nerf gun. You're like, thanks, Chuck. Like, yeah, okay, guard, you got some kills, but you're not my real dad. So can you
Right.
just get back on your own character?
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah, I think that Gesture's Ryan play is definitely left some wanting. Like I thought it was interesting the little Reinhardt segment they had. They had Fisher, Gesture, and Muma, and Fisher and Gesture have not been very good Reinhardts this stage one, and Muma. I think is a good Reinhardt, but a lot of people would disagree with me on that statement.
Nobody disagrees with you on that statement. Don't worry. It's a factual statement.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I think you might be onto something with putting too much on Profit. I do think that they're going to improve a lot next meta, but I don't think they're making the playoffs this stage. The confusing conundrum, the Paris Eternal, will be the last one we talk about tonight. Sitting at 2-3 with a -7 map differential, lost 3-1 to the Shock. Next week they do take on the Justice, but then they take on the Fusion after that. And I mean, they're going to have to win out to get this. I don't think they're going to have any problem with DC, but Fusion, they just might. What do you guys think?
And even if they win out, they need to improve their map differential quite a bit as well. And it's gonna be interesting. We'll see. Paris looked really not great this last week against Shock. I mean, it was not pretty. They've kind of had their ups and downs. I think they came in very, very confident, and it's kind of their confidence is dwindling, and I think so is their performance.
You think DeFran's over the top of the building on Hollywood Graviton Surge has broken
Took
them?
it all out of them. Yep, they're just done. Like, I don't even know what to do with myself anymore.
Oh
Style
man!
points were so real.
Oh,
They
so
were.
real!
Legit.
Oh my gosh!
I think Paris is like my overall wild card for the league. Like I truly think that they're just I never know what to think with them. They have so
Yeah.
much talent, and it doesn't always seem to click. They're one of those like experimental fusion foods that you're like I don't know if I'm gonna like this, kimchi with sushi or something, but like I don't know. Sometimes it gels, sometimes it doesn't. I think that they have the potential to be, one of the best of the league, but I just don't know this early on. And there does seem to be a disconnect with their subline when they do sub in people. Shadowburn, I don't know if he actually gels with the team as much as I would have hoped.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
Shadowburn sat on the bench for a long time, though.
Yeah.
And there's
And
really
when he got to bring out his Genji, everybody was so excited, and he literally just like brought it out and died.
well, I mean,
was like,
Sinatra
oh.
did a pretty slick move there. Like they came out, saw the Bastion, all of Paris runs back, changes. Shadowbird changes to Genji, and then while this is happening, Sinatra repositions to the other side. Shadowbird jumps up to the shield. He's like, "Where's Bastion?" Right behind him, killing him. And I mean, it was kind of sad.
It was sad. It
But-
was very sad.
You'll never know if Shadowbird gels with the team because the dude doesn't smile. He's just like straight, just one face. He has one face. Like you could have that Stormtrooper, happy, sad, mad, shirt, and have Shadowbird, and just his one face on all of them.
It's
He
true.
might be less emotive than a stormtrooper.
Yeah, the storm.
I do
Yeah, the
think
stormtrooper at least turns their head sideways and
oh
stuff at
god.
times.
I do think that Soon wasn't doing much on the Zarya either though. So
Yeah,
maybe
the Zarya
right
play
before
hurts.
stage playoffs wasn't really the time to experiment and try something new. But you had to imagine it was going well in scrims, right? Like something was going better with Shadowburn. He did not perform. I mean, he got out damaged by Sinatra every step of the way.
Oh yeah, he's been out damaged. I'm pretty sure by the opposing Zarya anytime he's been in.
I mean, in his defense, though, he's only been in 2 games, and they were against the Shock and the Titans, which both have arguably the best Zaryas, right? So, like, cut him a little slack, I guess. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, I'm not real sure. I was pretty high on them after the first week. Not so high now. And yeah, if you look at the stats, I mean, just the whole team just looked pretty bad this last week against the Shock. So we talked a little bit about the teams that aren't, going to make the playoffs in passing, but we're not going to really jump into them anymore today. We're gonna kind of talk here at the end about the Chengdu Hunters and how much fun they are, but we already covered that because that was pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and start wrapping up. I'm gonna remind you guys to check out our YouTube. We got our custom URL this week. We are at youtube.com/OWL recap. You can find us there. We released a interview with Jane today, and we're collecting quite a lot of player interviews. We've got one with Agilities, Bedozin, Sinatra, Fusions, Apply, Space, Linkser, Zachary, EQO, Surefor, AKM, and I've got 3 more that are going to be coming out this week. Now, I remind everybody, those are only on YouTube, so you will not hear them if you are listening to us on audio. We did get word that the Washington Justice, the Justice League, you can find them on Twitter at Justice League OW. They are having a watch party this Saturday, March 16th at 2:30 at the GEX Arena or Area Esports, or is that GEX DC Area Esports? I'm not sure, but if you go to their Twitter at Justice League OW, you will get all the information for that there. Mel and I went to one of them. It was a really good time, really good people, and they are still fans, even though the Justice have had a little bit of trouble, but. I mean,
A
this is a game that the Justice could win. I believe they're taking Mayhem on that day, so definitely check it out. What else do we got here? If I now that we're on YouTube and stuff, I do have to remind you that you can find us on pretty much any podcatcher around iTunes, Spotify, whatever you're into. We're probably there. Just search OWL Recap or search Overwatch League. You should see us there at the top. Join our Pick'ems League. We are going to do it stage by stage. There'll be a link in the bottom of the show notes. You can also find us at highnoon.gg. If you click on League up at the top right, we are one of the featured Pick'em leagues. If you want to get, let's go ahead.
I just have to call out iPlay really fast.
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Because iPlay is quite low in the Pick'em standings. I just want to point that out. He's also sick today, conveniently. I think he just didn't want to hear all the crap we were going to give him for being so low in the Pick'ems. But
super low, and
that's all.
I'm now tied for third, just 2 games behind first place. So I'm pretty excited about that myself.
Yeah, me too.
You're tied for
I'm not as low as Andres, okay?
Nope, you were definitely on the first page and not the last page. If you want to, I encourage you to follow us on Twitter at AlRecap. If you want to say something a little longer, send your emails to contact@alrecap.com. You can join our Discord by going to your web browser, typing in discord.me/omniclab. We do record live on Twitch Monday nights, normally around 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And you can find that at twitch.tv/alrecap. Lastly, how can you help the show out? You can tell your friends about the show. You can share the show any place. Reddit, please. You could go one step further and leave us a rating or review on iTunes. We love reading those on the show. If you feel compelled to support us even further, please go to patreon.com/alrecap. Every dollar helps. All right, Mel, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch, or you can find me on the Cavalry at the Cavalry Show.
All right. Adam, Akshon Esports. Give us a little bit longer of outro. Just kind of tell us, where we can find you, what you guys do up at Akshon Esports.
Yeah, absolutely. So Akshon Esports is a Vancouver-based company. We do Overwatch coverage as well as other games, LCS coverage, Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering Arena is something we're starting to dabble with. You can find me on Twitter at AkshonAdam or on Instagram at Adam Neylan, Neylan. I'm also pretty proud to announce that the web series that I co-wrote with YouTuber Brandon Rogers has launched, and the second episode came out today. It's really exciting. So that's youtube.com/Brandon Rogers. The series is Blame the Hero, and that's really exciting. I think we just capped 1 million views on our first episode.
Nice.
So we're stoked to see how that's going. Completely not related to Overwatch though, so don't go there expecting that because you'll be very surprised.
Still
That's
super
alright.
cool. Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Thanks for listening, guys, and we out.
Bye.
See ya.